You know the drill, right? Brave kid, scary giant, heroic victory. Well, what if I told you that's actually not the whole story? If we dig into the source text of Jack and the Beanstalk, we uncover something way darker. It's less of a heroic triumph and more, well, a really complex psychological profile. Today, we're doing an explainer on this classic fairy tale, and we're going to unpack a pretty surprising narrative about morality, guilt, and the heavy, heavy consequences of greed. Let's get right into it. We're jumping right into the emotional deep end here. You foolish boy, you traded our only cow for a handful of beans? Imagine the sheer panic in his mother's voice. I mean, this isn't just your standard disappointed parent. This is a mother literally staring starvation in the face. She takes the beans, chucks them right out the window, and just collapses by the fire to cry. And Jack? He shuts himself in his room, totally devastated, thinking he just ruined their lives. To really grasp everything that goes down next, we absolutely have to put ourselves in Jack's shoes and understand the crushing pressure he was under in this exact moment. Which brings us to Section 1, a desperate trade. So before the magic beans even enter the picture, Jack and his mom are living on this failing farm at the foot of the Foggy Mountains, and they're facing a truly terrifying level of poverty. We're not talking about just being a little short on cash for the month. The reality was incredibly grim. They had holes in the roof, broken windows, they didn't even have a front door. And the real kicker? Winter is coming, fast. Before the sun is even up, Jack's crying mother tells him if we don't fix the house, the cold will kill us. We really need to empathize with Jack's absolute desperation here. It's literally a life or death situation, and their one and only asset is their cow, Bess. And everything, the whole trajectory of this story, hinges on the number 5. That's the 5 gold coins the cow was actually worth, traded instead for an old man's 5 black magic beans. Now, Jack's mom gave him strict instructions. Do not take less than 5 gold coins. But on the way to the market, this old man offers him a very different kind of 5. 5 black magic beans that he promises will make Jack richer than the richest man in the world. So Jack, he's thinking about fixing the roof, the windows, getting a door, finally making his mom happy. He makes this trade out of pure hope, not malice.
Let's move on to Section 2, the Cloud Castle.
Okay, so Jack wakes up, sees this giant green beanstalk stretching up into the literal clouds, and climbs it, just hoping to get those 5 gold coins back. He gets to the top, knocks on this massive castle door, and just asks for help. At this point, he's just a starving, painfully thin kid politely asking for a bite to eat. And he actually gets it. He receives this much-needed kindness from a giantess who, even though she's as big as a house, has a warm smile and gentle eyes. She invites him in, gives him a hot bowl of vegetable stew. So right now, Jack is just a polite guest receiving some much-needed charity. But that cozy, safe atmosphere, yeah, it shatters instantly. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Wait, do I smell a human man? Yuck, where is he? Jack is so busy enjoying his stew, he barely even notices the kitchen table starting to shake. Stomp, stomp, stop. It's the terrifying, human-hating giant husband. The giantess hastily shoves Jack into the pantry, right as her husband barges in, literally sniffing the air with absolute disgust. The giant makes it incredibly clear he despises humans. The tension is palpable. And Jack, he's just trapped in the pantry, watching this all unfold. And that brings us to Section 3, the slippery slope of greed.
From the safety of that pantry, Jack watches the giant count out his gold. So Jack sees an opportunity, right? He sneaks out, steals 5 coins, slips them into his bag, and thinks to himself, okay, this is all I need to survive the winter. But then a really dark shift happens. Instead of just leaving and saving his family, he hides under the couch. He watches the giant command a golden hen to lay a golden egg, and suddenly, mere survival just isn't enough anymore. Greed takes root. He starts rationalizing. He thinks, man, if I had that hen, I could buy 50 cows.
It's fascinating to watch how systematically Jack descends into this greed. First, he takes the coins from the kitchen. Then he creeps out and steals the golden hen from the living room, again telling himself, this is all I need. But shocker, it isn't. He remembers that old man's promise about becoming the richest man in the world, so he pushes his luck even further. He actually follows the giant into the bedroom, hides under the bed, and finds a magic harp that plays music entirely on its own. Now, Jack's desire shifts completely from wealth to status. He figures that harp would make me rich and famous. But as you might guess, Jack finally pushes his luck way too far. As he's grabbing this third and final treasure, the magic harp actually screams out, "Help me, master! A human is stealing me!" This wakes the giant up immediately. The giant opens his eyes, sees his gold, his hen, and his harp in the hands of the tiny human thief, and just roars, "Stop, thief!" Which leads us to the climax in Section 4, the Beanstalk Falls. So Jack has what he came for, plus a whole lot more, but now he actually has to survive. It is a frantic, terrifying chase. Out of the bedroom, sprinting down the hallway, bursting through the kitchen, and flying out the front door. Jack, being way smaller and faster, reaches the beanstalk first and just slides down to the ground with all his stolen loot. The giant, who turns out to be terrified of heights, climbs down much, much more slowly. And this is despite his wife screaming a warning from above that humans can be dangerous. Jack hits the dirt, sprints to his house, grabs an axe, and just swings. Whack, whack, whack. The beanstalk snaps. The giant tumbles completely out of the sky. He falls down, 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 and lands far away on the other side of the foggy mountains with this massive, earth-shattering thud. And then, just silence, followed by a long, haunting "No!" from the fallen giant. He's now forever stranded on the earth, totally unable to ever return to his cloud castle.
Now let's explore Section 5, the heavy cost of wealth.
So, on paper, Jack wins. You would absolutely expect this to be a classic happily ever after. I mean, the hen makes him a millionaire, the harp makes him incredibly famous, he marries well, they have 10 kids, the whole shebang. But his quote-unquote perfect life comes at the cost of a profound tragedy. The giant and his wife are violently, permanently separated. The giant is trapped on Earth, yelling so loudly the clouds literally shake and turn gray, while his wife is trapped up in the sky, just weeping. Jack got literally everything he wanted, but he completely destroyed a family to get it. And because of that, Jack was never truly happy. His environment literally wouldn't let him forget what he'd done. Every single time the wind blew, Jack heard the giant desperately calling out for his wife. And every time it rained, he felt the tiny drops of the giant wife's tears falling right through the clouds, soaking the earth and landing directly on him. The weather itself becomes his guilt, manifested in the real world. He was rich, for sure, but he was perpetually sad and eaten alive by guilt. Finally, we arrive at Section 6, one last magic bean. Years and years pass. Jack grows very old and finally decides he just can't carry this heavy sadness anymore. After a literal lifetime of guilt, his entire shot at redemption comes down to a single, shriveled magic bean that he kept in a little box on his mantelpiece. Just one bean left. It's such an incredible symbol, isn't it? The first 5 beans started his entire descent into greed, and now this one remaining, dried-up little bean represents his absolute last hope for atonement. So old Jack embarks on one final quest. He packs his bag and hikes out into the misty mountains with a clear, restorative mission to undo the damage of his youth. His goals are simple but incredibly heavy. First, find the stranded giant. Second, plant that last bean to grow a new stalk so the giant can finally climb back up to his wife. And third, look the giant dead in the eye and apologize for being so unbelievably greedy. It's his beautiful redemptive arc for a character who basically spent his entire life reaping the rewards of theft. So, did Jack actually find the giant? Did that last magic bean ever grow? Well, the truth is, nobody knows. But the legend says that if you listen really closely during a thunderstorm, that rumbling sound you hear isn't just the weather. It's the sound of 2 giants, finally reunited, dancing together up in the clouds. So I leave you to ponder this. Does that thunder mean Jack actually succeeded in fixing his past mistakes? Or is it just a hopeful myth people tell to mask the permanent consequences of his greed? Think about that the next time you hear a storm roll in.